January 6th, I thought we'd have a topic of conversation to talk about it and to draw the hypocrisy. You may have seen in the left-hand corner, I talk about Ukraine. I'm being called a Putin shill. But January 6th, when people protested, 9 years ago, armed militias overthrew a democracy in Ukraine. The same people who want to imprison the January 6th protesters celebrated it and called it democracy when they overthrew an elected government in Ukraine. So we were supposed to talk to, go on, Edward, how does I pronounce it? Ogler, who was a Alternative for Deutschland MP, again, to just draw on the hypocrisy. Because in 2017, when Donald Trump visited her city, which is Hamburg, Antifa done exactly what is being claimed on January 6th, an insurrection. No one was arrested. They took over the town hall. So I just wanted to draw basically on this conversation. I know that Taylor, shall we start with you? You was, I just want to ask you, because even myself, I followed politics in America, but I haven't really followed what's happening now with all the January 6th protesters. And you was present that day. You were standing next to Aisha Bibi, who was shot dead.
Yeah, I mean, it's everything that the official narrative is a complete hoax. I did a big Twitter thread. I do one every single year on the anniversary, kind of just going into a little bit of detail and debunking, the official insurrection narrative. I mean, but we all have seen the videos. I mean, cops let people in. Something that kind of goes underreported is the fact that it was completely peaceful for the first, I'd say, 20 minutes after the initial barriers were breached. There was a little zone established on the west side. And, upon everyone sitting there singing the national anthem, singing songs, just hanging out, there's thousands of people. And then you see a concussion grenade, at least I did, go over my head deep into the crowd where, people weren't even anywhere near officers or anything. And it explodes right in this crowd. And then the crowd just starts to get bombarded by mace and by concussion grenades. And that's really what set everything off. And it started a crowd surge. So the people in the very back didn't realize what was going on. You had thousands of people heading from the ellipse to the Capitol. So they're pushing. And you have the people in the front that are getting concussion, basically just getting hit with concussion grenades and maced. And they have no idea why they're being maced. But obviously they're getting angry over it. And that really just caused the surge, the initial one at least.
In your opinion of that day, do you think it was a setup?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I've always put it ever since the day that it happened and I saw Ashley Babbitt get shot and killed is you don't walk into one of the most secure buildings, not just in the country, but in the world without being allowed to. I mean, the doors are magnetic locking. That's how every single capital around the country works, especially the United States Capitol. I mean, the security there is impeccable, at least it usually is. It's meant to protect our congressmen in a state of emergency. And yet you're just allowed to walk right in. I mean, you had officers opening doors for people. You had officers putting on MAGA hats, shaking people's hands. I mean, it was very obvious that it was a complete setup. And, what I thought that really they wanted to do, I think that they wanted to kill more people on January 6th once they got into the building. But that's really what it was about, was just setting up that insurrection narrative. Once people entered the building, they had won and their plan had succeeded already.
Am I right that people who just entered are being arrested and imprisoned as well?
Well, and not even people that haven't even stepped in or barely crossed the threshold of the trespassing line, which was an imaginary barrier. There's no way that people could even see it. They've been arrested. People that weren't violent that day, the majority of people that were arrested didn't engage in any violence, didn't even enter the Capitol at all. So people have been being arrested and are still being arrested for not even actually entering the physical building.
Do you think, for myself, I think that they want to send a message that no one ever protests Congress again?
Oh, absolutely. Well, you saw the 2020, Summer of Love. It was okay, and it was, a brave thing when BLM went around and burned cities down. I covered all of those riots. So did Lisa, and same with James Klug, who's in here. We saw firsthand the repercussions of these people burning cities down and murdering people in the street. More people died throughout the Summer of Love than on January 6th. And, that was basically preached as the holy thing. You had Kamala Harris and others posting bail funds for rioters. But in the minute that they want to actually protest Congress and do an effective form of protest, then they're going to, throw the book at people and say, oh, these people are terrorists. I mean, you saw what they did with the FBI wanted list. Is they knew the identities of all these people before they posted them, but they posted it anyway so it could start a witch hunt and it could divide people even more.
You know, and to set an example, go on, Lisa.
Tommy, real quick. Part of what they wanted to do too was show that the right wing was worse than the Democrats, right? So we had this summer of protests, and it was wild, and everybody was seeing it. It wasn't now. Granted, the media was trying to blame Trump for it, like he's so divisive, he's responsible for it. But they wanted to show that the right wing fraction of America was way more dangerous than BLM, who were just fighting for their rights. And so, anything to amp it up, I think is part of what was there. You could see that certain people were coordinated. There were plenty of people that were just out there huddled, praying, being kind. I was there. The FBI called me twice because I had gotten some footage from somebody who was inside, even though I wasn't. But I'm like, I have a badge. I'm allowed to be there. I was a staffer at the time. I didn't go inside, but I could have if I wanted to. And they were calling me. I was like, don't even start. But yeah, like it was funny because on the main entrances, they were letting people in. Now, James was on, I think it was the west side, and people were trying to break windows there. And that's where things got more violent, where they were like, where people were doing damage that they didn't want to, I guess, be responsible for. That's when they started shooting. Like James had a gas mask on and rubber bullets shot at him. I don't know why he can't like load up right now, but yeah, like that one side of the building was contentious like that. But if you had walked around the perimeter to any other entrance, people just walking in, people walking out very calmly too. It was basically like, I'll go in for a little bit. I'll look around, see Statuary Hall or, the main rotunda and come back out. Like
it was literally like a tour essentially. And I was on the same side as James. I was on that west side on that initial push. And the thing is what they say, the people that were breaking the windows, they've never been prosecuted literally at all.
Arrested.
No, they were put on the FBI's wanted list and then they were taken off almost immediately after. And they were both in the room with me when Ashley Babbitt was shot. I mean, so these are the same people that were there every single step along the way. They broke the windows. They never had repercussions. They were ripped off the FBI wanted list, just like Ray Epps. And then they happened to be in the room where Ashley Babbitt died. So there's no coincidences with these people. I mean, a lot of them are assets. A lot of them are bad actors. Obviously, all of them aren't, but there is a good majority of people that were.
And the narrative that went out, is still that, like, so many people died and that Officer Sicknick still died. He died from natural causes.
Yeah, well, and I did an in-depth story on all 5 deaths that happened. I mean, you had Kevin Greason and then Benjamin Phillips. They were the first 2 to die in that initial grenade barrage. They both had heart attacks. The media lied about both of them, said that one didn't even make it to the Capitol, which is a lie. And they said the other died from tasing himself in the testicles. They literally said that, and they ran with that narrative. And then Rosanne Boylan, they said she died of an acute amphetamine drug overdose because she was an ex-addict. She had been clean for over 8 years. It was one of her biggest accomplishments. And they saw that on a record and said, oh, look, we can just pass it off this way, when there's video of an MPD officer, Lila Morris, literally beating her to death with a stick as she's being trampled and maced on the ground. I mean, so they beat this woman to death and then said that she died of a drug overdose. And then Ashley Babbitt, we saw what happened with her. Michael Byrd shot her, and she was unarmed completely. She didn't even pose a threat. She actually tried to stop Zachary Alam, the guy that was actually breaking the window. She grabs him and punches him, and then she goes through so he doesn't, which nobody talks about that. But she was literally trying to stop the crowd and help the police, and she was killed for it. And then Officer Brian Sicknick, we all know the fire extinguisher hoax, said they had his head bashed in. But the thing that goes underreported with Sicknick that we reported on is he literally had a stroke earlier on in the day. Around 2 p.m., he comes stumbling out. And I have witnesses that tried to help him. They took him to the police line and said, hey, this officer needs help. He had a stroke, and they know he had a stroke. You can see it visibly on his face. And they said, yeah, we're going to help him, blah, blah, blah. We got medical on the way. And then a few hours later, around 7 to 8 p.m., I have another witness that is getting arrested who is a combat medic who's better trained than all of these officers and these EMTs. And he knows Sicknick's family. He says, hey, let me help him. He's going to die if you do not get him medical aid. And they basically told him to shut up and that they would take care of it. And then, around 10 p.m., he collapses in the rotunda because nobody helped him. So his brain was literally being fried over the span of 10 hours from when he had the initial stroke. I mean, so even his death was completely on the police. I mean, they were the ones that didn't get him the care that he needed. And there's video of him being pepper sprayed by one of his own cops as well.
Am I right as well that there was 20 FBI agents undercover?
Mm-hmm. Yep. At least that we know of, that came out in the documents, yeah.
So what's come of this? When this is so blatant in America, you've got people who are smashing things up. I've seen the videos of them identified, and they're not being prosecuted. But then in certain people who are walking through are being prosecuted. What are the Republicans doing about that?
Absolutely nothing. You have a select few of Republicans that have actually, done something. But even the ones that are, going to bat for the J6 prisoners, they're not actually doing anything. I mean, you have like Marjorie Taylor Greene, you have Matt Gaetz, you have Louis Gohmert, you have a few others that have visited the prison and have actually, spoken out for the J6ers and the protesters that were there that day. And I'd say, MTG is probably the most outspoken on the topic. She tweeted a portion of me and her interview today about Ashley Babbitt. But there's pretty much nothing being done. That's where...
And that's where
there absolutely is.
Working on the Hill, as soon as January 6th happened, anybody who didn't vote to certify the election was automatically blacklisted from any type of legislation, any fundraising, anybody that was getting any like donations from PACs and things like that. It stopped. All of that stopped. And so they didn't want to be associated with January 6th or anything to do with it. They basically took all the funding and all the ability to get any legislative things done at all away from the members who didn't just support like overturning the election. Like that's it. Like not overturning, but like not certifying votes. So because they were punished like that, and because anything associated with January 6th was a stigma, the only people that were willing to do anything about it were the people that were already isolated, that people didn't really like anymore anyway. Like Gaetz and Marjorie Taylor Greene aren't pushing forth a lot of legislation. You try to get them co-sponsor a bill and your legislation dies because
they're firebrands of Congress.
Right. They don't want to be associated with those people. So therefore, anybody that was even concerned about the January 6ers knew that it was like political suicide if you got involved to help them.
So are they currently, how many of them are in jail? And are they on solitary confinement?
I think the good majority of them have been taken out of solitary confinement. I don't want to give, an exact number. I think you still have over 10 people in solitary confinement though, and over 100 still in jail for non-violent charges, not even violent charges. And you have the people that are in for violent charges. A lot of them aren't even in solitary confinement. But 99% of the people that were arrested didn't even commit violence that day. And if they did, it was selectively edited and it was actually self-defense, the good majority of them. That's the thing that the committee got wrong, which one of the many things is you would see these, nice little propaganda edits they'd throw together of like people, it would splice and somebody would be attacking a cop through his body cam. But then they wouldn't show the 5 seconds before where that cop is literally beating somebody on the ground with a yardstick for no reason at all. And one of the, highly edited things that they did is they would use, specific journalist footage. And, I begged the committee. I literally reached out to Kinzinger, Cheney, all the people on the committee board. And I asked to testify. I wanted to be subpoenaed so I could tell my side of the story and what I saw in the room with Ashley Babbitt and prior to it. And they never reached out to me. They never talked to me. The FBI, the only time the FBI tried to talk to me was directly after the 6th. And the only thing they wanted to talk about was John Sullivan. So that pretty much sums up what their interests were.
Taylor, did they put you on a no-flies list?
Yeah. I'm on a terrorist watch list. You're
on a terrorist watch list for going to January 6th?
Yeah, because I did my job on January 6th. And the reason why I got put on is because I was one of the only people that actually spoke out after watching, Ashley Babbitt literally bleed out in front of me. Is they put her on a martyr list, alongside other people that had died in conflicts in the past. So she's considered to be, a martyr. She's on a dangerous persons list by the FBI. So me advocating for her to get justice, even though I'm a journalist, and I witnessed this firsthand because I named the shooter a month after as Michael Byrd. And so me advocating for her to get justice and me cooperating with the family and with their legal team in order to get justice for her landed me on a domestic terrorist watch list. And I was on a no-fly list for a while. And then once that got taken off, I was on a Quad S list. So I'd go through the strictest security in the airport possible. They would try to make me late, try to make me miss flights. I'd have to go 4 hours early in order to even get on a flight from point A to point B. And then I would get searched once I got to the terminal as well. And then once I landed too. And, then I actually got detained coming back from a reporting trip in Mexico. And that's when I had confirmation as I overheard, the BPD literally talking about how I am a terrorist and they don't know what to do with me. And I was sitting in this room in Mexico waiting to get back into America for over 5 hours while other reporters I was on the ground with were just waiting for me. I mean, so they've literally labeled me a terrorist because of my reporting.
Taylor, I got arrested with my children in Mexico as well. I was a threat to national security, apparently.
Yep.
The British had told them. But what I find amazing and what I find sickening is that Republicans aren't fighting this, aren't going for it. And those men have been left.
They don't, because it's toxic.
Because it's toxic. They've made it too toxic to support it, too toxic to talk
about.
Well,
I mean, they say it's worse than 9/11. I mean, they set the stage with the Lincoln Project and Kamala Harris and Biden. I mean, they call these people terrorists out the gate. They've already passed the dehumanization stage. I mean, I'm surprised that they haven't literally advocated for the death penalty for these people. And they've tried to charge people with treason and with sedition, but they just can't get it through. I mean, so they're literally, they want these people that were involved, they want them dead. And there's, no hiding it. I mean, you have over 20 people, including officers. It's over 23, the death count in relation to January 6th afterwards. And nobody talks about those people. As you have January 6ers that have killed themselves in mysterious ways. Their family members swear up and down that they would have never done such a thing. You have officers that have killed themselves in super mysterious ways. I've talked to a lot of their families and they say, no, this was malicious. There's something going on here, but they're scared to speak out. I mean, you have people either being killed or being killed in very suspicious ways, and journalists. I mean, Villain Report was a journalist that watched Roseanne Boyland die, and he ended up dead in a suspicious manner in a hotel in Alaska on a vacation. I mean, so you have people literally dropping dead in relation to this topic, and they're not even trying to hide it. I mean, they don't care. They say it's worse than 9/11. So they've set the stage for this. They say that there's certain dates within world history that really has a certain tone to it. And they use January 6th as that now.
It's insane. That's why I put Ukraine, because the same people, Kamala Harris, Biden, the same people who are totally against January 6th and making a massive deal of it, supported an armed, foreign-funded uprising against the democracy in Ukraine.
Yeah, they funded a coup, and that's obviously something that America is known for. Yeah, and it's publicly known that in 2014 we literally overthrew the government in Ukraine. And you have John Bolton right now running for president on the topic of January 6th, and Trump saying, "Oh, we should get rid of certain parts of the Constitution or tweak it." And he's running, and he's one of the biggest war criminals that we've ever seen. I mean, he essentially genocided the Iraqi people, but he's allowed to go out and call these people terrorists when in reality he's one of the biggest terrorists our country has ever seen. And he also helped with the Ukraine debacle.
And they label January 6th as racist and extremists, and they're funding literal Nazis in Ukraine.
Yep.
Correct. We're messed up over here, Tommy. I can't help you. We're supposed to be like the beacon, the shining light on the hill, right? But no.
Well, no. The Republicans are supposed to be the shining light on the hill. I cannot understand that the Republicans are not screaming this from the rooftops.
Well, any of the ones that aren't controlled were pretty loud about it. The ones that couldn't I mean, even Gosar. Gosar was a good example. Gosar did a good job on January 6th. That's one I didn't mention earlier. But I mean, you have the Uniparty here. It's stronger than ever right now in America. I mean, you see what's going on with these votes right now. You have people backing down from the McCarthy stuff. I mean, literally what we're seeing right now is the right is being shamed for actually engaging in, what democracy is supposed to be, is debating on who is supposed to be the speaker on the floor. But we're the ones that are, unorganized, and we're the ones that are terrorists, even though the left is just showing a straight up show of totalitarian forces. You have to agree with us. You have to vote for all the same people unless, and they're completely unified. But the minute the right wants to speak out, they're labeled terrorists. I mean, you saw Dan Crenshaw literally label Matt Gaetz and the dissenters terrorists the other night. I mean, so it's on both sides.
He should know better. He's a combat veteran. He should know better. You know what a real terrorist is, Crenshaw.
Well, and then he came out and he said, "Oh, it was just a figure of speech." Yes, Dan, because I too label people that I disagree with as terrorists as a figure of speech. It's like it's blatantly obvious what they're doing here. I mean, the Uniparty, I would say, is stronger than it's ever been in America right now.
Apparently, Damon is here and ready. In case you wanted to say hello, Tom.
I do want to say hello. Hold on, let me get this code up. How are we? Is he here? I've got the syllables to check again. Damon, are you here?
Hello, did you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, buddy. How are you?
I am nice. I'm walking on the street of Belgrade. Edward told me, be behind church, be on the street. Everybody is home, Edward.
Everybody's home.
Video.
I wanted to ask you, in Serbia, when we see about the January 6th so-called insurrection, and we have your conflict with Kosovo, and again, it's just hypocrisy. I just wondered how you feel when you're watching what's happened in America, and you know that your own country is threatened at the same time, and just wondered where Serbia, basically, you're the inspirers of January 6th are worried about tensions over Ukraine and stand for its territorial integrity against Russia. The same people are not worried about the territorial integrity of Serbia.
Listen, this is a very big story, but after 19th, this propaganda from the West, special CNN, BBC, mainstream propaganda, said that Serbian is bad guys. Today we have Russian like bad guys. In the middle, you have Iraq, Afghanistan, Libya, a lot of country, a lot of peoples, but okay, we are bad guys in that Hollywood movie. But for us, this is not Hollywood movie. This is real life. I survived bombing. I survived 3 wars in Serbia. In 19th, I am born at 1988. I have 33 years old, 34 years old, and we grew up with embargo, with sanction, with after bombing we have problem with uranium, you know, and after that we have visa. We going in Europe, cross traveling, and we speak with people. You know, after that we have internet. We speak with a lot of people, and we see some stupid, a lot of stupid people, especially in the West, because that propaganda. What?
Not the English.
You don't understand me.
The West has got. The times we're in now. I end up repelling against the West and seeing the degeneracy of the West, and I feel like I'm speaking out against my own country at the times. But
that is true. That is your country. We have problem also with your country, but not with your people. I think that we really have a problem today on Kosovo. We have KFOR, we have British, we have Germans, Americans, and today, in this morning, this is Christmas evening for our Serbs. Albanians shot 2 young boys on Kosovo, you know, and nobody speak about that. Shot, he survived, but we have problem. My generation is generations, and we will turning back on Kosovo. But I heard this story tonight, what you speak about, all of you. I know that problem. Also, my thinking is that Donald Trump, when he's been president of America don't start any new wars in the world. I really think that Republicans is today on top of American, that Ukrainians don't be this war today.
I saw a speech by an American politician who said, "Until the last Ukrainian is dead." I watched the speech thinking that, and Putin's asked for a ceasefire. I just find myself like the whole thing when you look at the hypocrisy of what's happening in Ukraine. It was the expansionist ideas of the European Union to overthrow democracy, the cause of conflict, in order to encroach on Russia's
all
border.
European Union have problem because this war. All European Union because
the same European Union the same European Union that bombed Serbia.
Yes.
As well.
Yes, and nobody don't said in that moment that is crime. That is aggressor NATO for they bombing young Serbs. But no, nobody don't say that. But in Ukrainian we see a different story. Also, if you want to look really, Russian defend his people on his sanctuary territory. In Serbia, not just Kosovo is sanctuary Serbian territory. Our country is start to be from Kosovo. Serbians start to be from Kosovo in 2011th century, you know, and they said this is not your territory anymore. Because of what? Because of some other people was coming to live in your territory, and because of they said we want a new war and we want an independent, and we defend ourselves in 1999, you know, and everybody said no, Serbs is aggressor. And what we have now on Kosovo, if you speak about Kosovo, we have a criminal country, a lot of Albanians going from Kosovo. You're from British, is that right? And a lot of Albanians going in British today. Why?
50,
because
50%.
he don't want to live on Kosovo. Why? Because criminals is on the top. In 80s, 70s, in 90s, you have social strong Yugoslavia. And Albanian population is Muslim. And they have about 5-7 children in that moment. And everybody have a job. You have a lot of money. 2 sons you send in Europe to be criminals, because Albania have strong mafia in Europe. And everybody send the money on Kosovo, and they fight for something, for big Albania, you know. Today is different situation. Drug is not it's not going in Europe. They stay on Kosovo because you don't have open borders anymore. You have a lot of drugs problems on Kosovo today. Today, couples on Kosovo, Albanian couples, I speak about Albanian couples, don't have 7-5 children. They have maybe 1 children, and they have his independent, you know. And also, after bombing in 1999, we have big problem with uranium, because that is war crime against Serbs and also Albanian. And we have a lot of cancers after 1999 in Belgrade also, but especially in Kosovo. And nobody don't want to live in Kosovo today. And you don't have anymore 1 million Albanians. You have a much small number, you know. Well, after 1990,
Albanians have took over the drug scene in every UK city. They control the drugs now in every UK city.
Yes. And in that, and what Americans have, NATO. Firstly, they have most biggest base, army base, special Americans on Pristina. That is all the Serbian military base, and when he going in Afghanistan, he going from both, from Pristina, from Kosovo. That is not country. That is not country.
Yeah, that was my question to you: is the hypocrisy of your borders and your identity compared to Ukraine's borders and their identity, when the West are all jumping in behind Ukraine, but ignoring the situation in Serbia and Kosovo.
They ignore. Before 7 days, I've been on Kosovo, but Kosovo government, Albanian government, said that I'm terrorist and I cannot anymore coming, and they want to arrest me. I know situation that on Kosovo. I also know situation on the Ukraine. I have a lot of friends who is today in Ukraine with Russian side, and I look like every man. We have internet. We have look what West said. Also, in March in 2002, we have big protest in Belgrade to support Russian, and a lot of media, special BBC, CNN, and New York Times, call me and have interviews with me. And everybody asked me, why you support Russian? He's aggressor now. You want to go in European Union, for example. I said, I don't want to go in European Union. And believe me, 80% people in Serbia today don't want to go in European Union. No, because we hate someone. We don't hate anyone, but we don't want to. This is not fair union for us, for example.
Hey, Tommy, real quick. We've got a little breaking news coming out that Ashley Babbitt's mother was trying to conduct a memorial service on the Capitol grounds and was just arrested.
And they stopped her.
Wait, they just arrested Mickey?
Mm-hmm. There's a link to it. They just arrested the mother on Capitol Hill maybe 10 minutes ago.
Is it on video?
Yes. Yeah, it's in the chat here. I just want to let you guys know. Hey, Luke.
So her mum's gone to do a memorial for her, and they've arrested her.
Correct.
So
next time,
that's a defining moment where every single Republican and every single person, the line in the sand is drawn over that sort of issue. And
that's exactly what we were saying.
Well, and see,
but will they?
These are the same police that allowed a woman to literally they gave her the go ahead like 2 months ago to vandalize a memorial that was set up for Ashley Babbitt on stream. I mean, the Capitol Police said, "Yeah, you're good," and then they let her kick at the flowers all over, destroy them. I mean, so these cops have been threatening Mickey for months. I mean, over a year. Last anniversary on January 6th, I was in town with her. And they actually said, they told her to get in a car, making a joke about it, saying, "Oh, get in the back. We'll take you where you need to go." And these are the same police officers in the same unit that literally were responsible for her daughter's death. I mean, so these cops are not a fan of Mickey at all.
Her daughter's ex-forces served the country. She's been murdered. And now her mother's arrested trying to pay respects for her.
Lisa, will you send me that on Twitter?
You want me to send it to you?
That is democratic. That is democratic.
Well, this is that they celebrate democracy. That's the only reason why I put the Ukraine thing in, because the hypocrisy is insane. We literally have armed militias thrown over a democracy, banning the church, banning opposition parties, funding a massive war. All of our taxpayers' money, it winds me up because all of our money's going on funding a war, which is a NATO war, it's an American war, to bring a regime change in Russia under the guise of democracy. But yet January 6th, we've got all these people in jail for walking into the building. And it's the same people doing nothing. It's the same people on either side of it. The same people supporting it. Luke, what's your input, Muv?
Yes, but that is a Hollywood movie, believe me.
It's quite insane, and
you look like Hollywood movie.
It's nothing new to me in that I just believe the whole thing is rotten and corrupt. And the US, in many ways, the US is one of the most corrupt countries in the world and has been for decades. And you've got basically criminal federal agencies, the CIA, FBI, NSA. They have been acting illegally for decades. And a lot of what they do is instigating coups in foreign countries. The CIA has a long history of this stuff. So it's nothing new when you've sort of looked into these sort of issues.
But how does it stop? When we see this, everyone sees the wrongs that's happening. How does it stop? We had an illegal invasion of Iraq, Afghanistan. Everyone sees what's going on with JFK. Everything's happened. Donald Trump got power. He was in power.
Tommy, you're acting like everybody sees it. You see it. We all here see it because we pay attention. But the mainstream media people, the people that are just trying to take their kids to soccer every day, they're not seeing this. They have no idea what's going on. As a matter of fact, you talk to them about January 6th, they don't remember anything about it. They can't tell you what happened, who died, not anybody's name. They don't even know that anybody's in prison.
That is true. We must stop media. We must stop media. That is true.
Lisa, not only that, but we ended up maybe about like maybe it was last anniversary when we went out and did a street video asking just everyday people, Californians, liberal state in the United States, asking people, hey, what their thoughts were on comparisons that were being made between January 6th to 9/11. And so many responses that we got weren't even people biting on that comparison. It was what's January 6th? What was that? Like people are that tuned out to these things that are going on.
Okay, so the next election, if the Republicans get in, because Donald Trump was in power, yeah, he could have took down big tech. He could have done things to stop the influence of big tech. So if the Republicans win an election, what are they going to do to change it? With everything that's gone on, with the corruption, with the influence, with the election fraud, with everything.
See, that's the only reason why I want Donald Trump over a DeSantis or whatever, is because DeSantis will fall in line and still do the same old. Trump would know that it's his last shot. He would know the mistakes that he made. That he didn't do some of the things that he should have done, like pardon Assange and do all those other things that he should have done, because he needed that second term.
You can thank Richard Grenell and Adler for that one.
True, but the main point is that he had people in his ear saying, you need to get reelected. You should do A, B, and C, or not do A, B, and C. And so now if he goes, he is the only one that is willing and angry enough to burn it all down. And that's the reason why I say, I don't care if DeSantis is more electable. He's not the one I want, because he's not going to be the one to hold their feet to the fire. To me, he's not going to be it.
It's funny. I actually slightly disagree, but just in the sense that DeSantis, he'll get stuff done in the state of Florida. He's proven it. He's gone after these schools indoctrinating children. He's done a lot. However, I think to Lisa's point, if elected, he would be a Trump light, right? Trump has, he can't go a second term after this next term. He would go all out. Now, the biggest issue with Trump that we saw was he had a unique ability to surround himself with people that were just backstabbing idiots, and they were unable to get a bunch of things done. I think this time around, hopefully, we could assume that he would learn his lesson on that, and he would just go tearing apart the system, because he has nothing to lose, whereas DeSantis would be worried about a re-election. He would just have to go more calm than a Trump second term. He would have to.
Yeah, I agree. The problem is that he's not even in the conversation right now, because he's not on Twitter. Like, he refuses to be on Twitter out of his...
Who, Trump?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's because he probably got a contract with Truth Social. So
he does. He does.
He needs to rip that up, really, for the greater good. He needs to reach the maximum people.
If he really cared, though, I mean, like, it's Trump. He could find a way out of that contract. Like,
he should.
A little bit of it is his pride, I'm sure. But I think it's really one of his biggest disservices is being off Twitter and not visible, and only having certain sound bites that the media wants to pick up. That's crazy.
I've always said, ever since Trump got reinstated on Twitter, is if he actually, and I would prefer Trump over DeSantis in a lot of ways, but it just seems like he's, hiding at this point. If he actually cared about his constituents and cared about winning an election, he would get back on Twitter. He would say, okay, screw the investment I have in Truth. I'm a multi-billionaire. I don't think a few $1 million in Truth is going to make a difference if you actually care about saving America, like his whole brand is based on. But instead, he would rather just sell NFTs of himself as a superhero.
To that point, though, laying low is important, though, for him in a sense, too, because they are trying to come after him with lawfare and things like that. When it comes to January 6th, they still have this. They just rounded up that January 6th.
But his job is to reach as many people as possible with his side of the story, which is Twitter.
If you're trying to, he's trying to win an election, you need to participate in American culture, and that is not in Truth Social. That's
Twitter is the culture.
We need Truth. Yeah, we need Truth Social. Don't get me wrong. We absolutely need it as backups for people, whatnot. That's great. However, he definitely needs to engage in culture. Although I agree with Lisa, though, he needs to engage in culture and also just take it easy. You have a bunch of people in the center in the United States that hate this guy's guts. I talk to him every single week, and they just want him to shut up. If he goes with, if he gives people the good old Trump, let's recover, let's make America great again, he could run on that same thing, but just run it a little bit more mellow, not as obnoxious on Twitter. It would be a great thing for him.
Right
now he's just kind of some awkward guy in the corner.
I 100% agree with what he's. I love him on Twitter. He's absolutely the most entertaining person, the king of Twitter. Elon's kind of taken his place and taking those shots for him. But
totally,
every single thing that he does at this moment, it just seems like he's not taking this seriously. I do love the video he put out about taking on the drug cartels. I am as anti-war as it gets, but that's a war that I would actually probably support, is taking on the drug cartels head on. The way that his policy plan laid it out, it actually makes sense. It's not just going to be a worthless drug on war where we have the CIA trafficking all these drugs into America. News tip, they're already here. We're kind of past that point. I do agree with him on the whole cartel thing, but he has to actually step it up, because the majority of Americans would agree, hey, fentanyl poisoning, pretty bad. And, he can get a massive amount of support from families that have been personally affected by fentanyl, because it is a lot more than people understand. And it's like they're screaming literally into, it's silence. It's silent screaming with these families. They're not paid attention to by the media. It's the most underreported topic in this country when it's affecting hundreds of thousands of people. He has a huge voting, constituent base right there if he actually wants to take on the cartels and say, hey, no more fentanyl in this country. We're going to sanction China sending it, and we're going to shut down the cartels at our border. But he needs to step it up and be actually serious about it.
And get back on Twitter.
Mm-hmm. That's the biggest thing. He needs to get back on Twitter so he can tell the people directly what he means. So it's not just, oh, here's a screenshot of a truth post that may be real or may be fake. We saw that with the Byron Donalds thing, him saying, somebody typed up a fake one and it went viral on Twitter, and then they had to, basically run damage control and say, hey, that actually wasn't a statement made by Trump. He actually came out for McCarthy instead.
Which is weird again.
Yeah, it is weird, honestly. I don't know.
Disappointing. Not weird.
You know what it is? Trump, once he makes a decision, he doesn't like to be wrong. So he backed McCarthy a while back before this all happened. And I feel like he doesn't. Same thing with the vaccine. He doesn't.
It's the ego.
I've been wrong. Right. It's his ego. I don't think he wants to say that he's wrong. But that's really dumb. That's not going to help you. I don't know. I don't know. It's stupid.
Well,
so what's up? What about England, Tommy? Because the stuff I really feel like starts there first. Like, you guys had all the issues with, the grooming gangs and immigration and
where they've gone in England. Where they've gone in England is, which is going to come to America. I've currently got 2 injunctions by the courts. So when I've produced a documentary, they've given me an injunction to say I'll go to jail if I ever show that documentary. So Project Veritas or any of these organisations, that's what they'll do. And then even if I show the documentary, the headline will just say I breached an injunction. So being cancelled won't get the documentary to the masses. And that's the way they've gone. I realised it. I've had 2 court cases, gone before the judges with all the evidence. It was the same judge who done, what's his name? Johnny Depp. So Johnny Depp lost his court case in the UK because it suited the narrative, the Me Too narrative, against all the evidence, against the police officer's evidence, against the witness's evidence they found against him. He was able to clear his name in the United States in an open court. I went to court in the UK, the same court, and I proved my case, and the judge gave me an injunction. And that's the second injunction I've got. So that is where they've directed it now. That's what I've seen, is to prevent me. I'm not even allowed to mention certain names, or I'll go to jail. So in the UK,
and your affiliates, right? Doesn't it say your affiliates? Like saying,
no one can. It's worded that if you do, I go jail. So
if
and part of me just thinks,
or if anybody,
I want to do it. Yeah, I'm going to do it. Yeah. Part of me just thinks to push the boundary. Then if he puts me in jail, the whole world will watch it. But that's where we've gone in the UK. But I think the current refugee crisis, which 4 million have come over your borders. You're seeing it in Florida. You're seeing now in Florida coming across by boats.
At least that we know of. Yeah.
I see now 30% of hotels in Ireland are full of migrants. 25% of hotels in the UK are full of migrants. Anyone who still thinks that this is not organised is insane. Anyone 10 years ago when you talked about this and you talk about the flooding of Europe and the replacement of people, you'd be called a conspiracy theorist. Now you can see it clear as day. And I think Ireland, keep your eyes on Ireland, because I think Ireland over the next 12 months will be the country that goes up, because the Irish people fought for decades to rid themselves of the British. They fought a war to get rid of the British, and now they're handing over their country to hordes of migrant Muslim men. There were 7 stab.
It's Algerians, right? You're having big, massive waves from
Albanians, Afghanis, Pakistanis. They're coming from everywhere. They all say they're Iranian, or they all have a certain place to say they're from to get refugee crisis. We give 50% of Albanians. There's no war in Albania.
Mm-hmm. Well, see, and that's kind of the same thing that's happening in America. Is we're not getting people from Mexico anymore. All the people that are coming from Mexico, I've been on the border, they've been here for over a year now. I mean, those aren't the migrants you're getting anymore. You're getting people from Honduras, from Venezuela, from places all the way across the world. And guess what? The majority of them, I'd say 95+%, are all fighting age males. I mean, so it's the same thing happening in this country too.
What you're getting now is Muslim migration. You have no idea what's coming. Yeah.
Oh well, I've run into Afghanis down there. I've run into multiple Muslims. I mean, it is insane what's being able to roll over this border, and people think, oh yeah, they're able to actually check these people. It's like I have an idea, but I just don't want to, catch a felony, but it might be worth it. Is I could cross over into Mexico legally, drop my ID, walk over and be literally processed as an illegal immigrant, and they wouldn't even know. I could just act like I don't speak English. I mean, that's how loose this system is there's no way of actually identifying these people and realizing if, hey, they might be felons, they might be, have multiple counts of sex offendery. Like, you don't know the kind of people that are coming over.
Well, in the numbers that we're talking about,
it doesn't matter because they'll vote Democrats.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter.
The numbers that we're talking about too. I mean, last year's fiscal year, I think, ends in September. Maybe Taylor, maybe you know better than me on that, but I believe it ends in September.
Yeah. Or October,
they reported about 600,000 gotaways. So those are people that just are reported to have been chased, got away. 600,000 people,
and those are the ones that they actually see get away.
The neighboring city next to me has 200,000 people. My city has about 100,000 people. So, like, if we just put it into context like that, that's a new school district every single month that's having to be made. All of these things, it really takes away from any proper complaint. I mean, like, I keep saying this. There's no argument made in good faith anymore from our folks over on the left, because they'll complain about, oh, we need higher wages for teachers, or we need more teachers, or more schools, or whatever it is. And it's like, really? Because you're allowing an army of people to come over every single month, and
but James, that's a conspiracy theory. The borders aren't actually open according to them. Well, and it's funny because I can go to Dallas this past year. There used to never be a language barrier. It was almost impossible to run into it. You go to Dallas, you go to Deep Ellum, you go to these areas that usually are predominantly white liberal or predominantly black, and they actually speak English. You go there now, and there's literal language barriers between Spanish and English. I mean, you can go down there, and I'd say 5 out of 10 people you talk to don't even speak a lick of English. I mean, and this is in Dallas. I mean, so I can only imagine where these blue states and, these more predominantly red areas, what's being pumped into them.
Well, here's more like Ukraine hypocrisy for you, though. We had 4.9 million cross that we know about in the last 2 years. 4.9 million in the last 2 years that we know crossing. Okay, fine. That's two Chicagos, two whole Chicagos, right? But then instead of giving money to secure our border, you're
worried about Ukraine.
In that last omnibus, they had a provision that no money would go to the border, but that 45 billion of extra money on top of what we already spent would go to Ukraine.
Well, and didn't we have something that was like a war provision in Yemen in one of these last bills? Like literally sending money, millions of dollars to Yemen to fund a war that we have nothing to do with, allegedly. Like, they just do not. All these omnibus bills and all these pork filled into these bills, I mean, it's blatantly obvious. It's money laundering, one, and two, they're just sending money to places that it's never going to be seen again.
But there was the one provision, though, said no money would be of this omnibus would be directed towards anything to do with securing our border. It was a line.
That's the point. It's quite literally the point. I mean, there can only be so much of a pattern before you say there's a point here. This is not just incompetence. There's a very clear point here. And actually, the point is, we're not getting a bunch of super based Cubans coming over the southern border and being like, oh, cool, you guys want gun rights? Like, let's go. You love the Constitution? That's great. No, in fact, you're not getting people that hate the Constitution either. You're getting people that don't really care. And
they don't care about anything.
And they're told you want people to vote left.
Right. So as soon as you bring them on, bring them on as an American citizen, they're going to vote. They'll go vote left because they're not going to stand strong.
Well, and they're already talking about allowing illegal immigrants to vote. Like, they don't even need to be citizens in a lot of these areas. They're already trying to pass legislation. Yeah, saying, illegal immigrants should be able to vote, even though they don't have actual citizenship in the country. I mean, when I was reporting on the border last time, National Guard and Border Patrol both got in my way while I was filming migrants saying, and you know what the reason was? Is, oh, they don't want to be filmed. And I said, okay, well, they have more of a right than the freedom of the press in order to film them and show what's going on in the country. And they flat out told me yes. I was like, okay, well, this is a little bit weird that, you know, these people that aren't even American citizens have more of a right than I do as credentialed press to film and show the American people what's going on. I mean, it's not about anything important at all. They're just allowing these people to flow through.
They're not allowing
going into your home.
So when you realise when Angela Merkel opened up her borders and let 2 million Syrian men into the country, that's when I realised they don't care anymore. There's no hiding it anymore. Yeah, they could easily stop the boats coming into our country, but they're not. They're not even trying to stop it. So
because it's policy.
If you look what's happening in Europe, look what's happening in England, look what's happening in Ireland, look what's happening in America, it's orchestrated, it's organised. They're going to weaken our countries. That's exactly, it used to be a conspiracy theory. They're going to weaken your country, they're going to destroy your nation, and they're going to bring in loyal voters.
Well, and it's funny because the left and mainstream media here still says that the Great Replacement is a conspiracy theory, but then they can go and they can talk about it and it's not a conspiracy when they do. But it's like it's literally happening in front of you. But then the minute Tucker Carlson gets on national television and says something about it, he's a racist. But then they can go, Rachel Maddow can go and talk about how, oh, it's great that whites are being replaced in America. And it's totally okay when they do it. It's just the hypocrisy. I mean, America isn't even America anymore at this point.
I'd say the next 4 years in America with the election are the most important ever. Because if you don't stop it, you never win an election again. The Republicans will never, ever. 4 million people have come across the borders. They're going to vote Democrat. And they're going to keep those borders open. They're going to keep those borders open. They're going to keep bringing them in. They want people reliant on the state. They don't want people successful. They want them reliant on the state. And
I mean, it's almost impossible to buy a home nowadays. I mean, all the things that were, super easy and accomplishable to do 10 years ago are literally out of the grasp. I mean, my generation, Gen Z, they are absolutely screwed when it comes to this. They're going to be renters their entire lives. And then meanwhile, they're posting these illegal immigrants up in nice houses, in apartments. They're paying for all these people's things. And then, people wonder, oh, why is this happening? But then you're not allowed to talk about it, especially my generation, is because they've been brainwashed. They're essentially using Hitler-esque tactics, saying if you can go after one generation, and that's the millennials and Gen Z in this point, and if you can flip them to your ideology, then you win. You win the country. And we're basically at that point is where you have so many of these brainless NPCs just wandering around, basically jerking off the state at this point, because that's the only way to put it is, they are basically subservients to the state. This is a totalitarian nightmare here, but it's a dream for a totalitarian state. And, this is essentially what you're seeing is the one world order. I mean, it is coming together these next few years. I think by 2030, you're either going to have a little bit of pushback in America if we can win the 2024 election and actually get someone in there that can switch things up and push back a little. But by 2030, if, you don't have anyone get in, America is gone. It's nearly gone at this point already. But 2030 is really going to be the indicating year.
Well, that's the Democrats. I wonder if people realize how serious it is.
No, they don't.
I wonder if people realize how.
And even if they do, they don't care. That's the thing.
They support it though. Like we basically on the other side of the aisle, the left side of the aisle, they're essentially slowly year by year adopting an open border policy. You talk to any Democrat. You can go out in the street, talk to any Democrat in the state of California or pretty much wherever, and for the most part, they'll conflate illegal immigration with legal immigration, and they'll just say, "Who cares?" This is the land.
Well, they've turned into globalists. It doesn't
matter. Oh yeah, and it just so turns out, they go with the melting pot argument. Oh, America's a big melting pot. Well, melting pots aren't as awesome when the ingredients suck.
Yep. It's controversial to talk about how certain cultures don't mix. But we know that is a fact that certain cultures cannot mix together without high, violence rate, high rates of rape and other, violent crimes. That's literally what we're seeing in America is the intentional downfall. But the left, it doesn't matter what happens or how far it goes. We saw they celebrate the shooting of Ashley Babbitt. Oh, she's a terrorist. But in the minute that a black man that pulls a gun on an officer that isn't unarmed to get shot and killed, they'll riot. It's just we live in two different realities at this point. You have the people that are actually fighting for the country and that use common sense, and then you have the left and even people on the right. People that are falling into line with the uniparty. It's two wings on the same bird at this point. You have these mindless NPCs that will just slowly adopt these positions, and then eventually they have the positions of the state, but they think they're being anti-state. It's insane.
I'd say again, keep your eyes on Ireland. Keep your eyes on Ireland. Because they're all coming out against Sinn Féin now, the IRA. They're all coming out against the IRA because the IRA were meant to be to protect Ireland. I think this summer, keep your eyes on Ireland.
Luke, us Americans are a chatty lot, so we want to hear more from you.
Ask a question, Tommy, if you got any questions. But yeah, America's it's looking quite dire, and to be honest, I think the only option is uniparty. When Tommy says, why aren't Republicans doing this? Why aren't they doing that? It's because Republicans are uniparty. So it is what it is. I think the key is recognizing the nature of the game.
Well, not subscribing to identity politics.
And I think a lot of the Republican base, it's so interesting because they've allowed a lot of this stuff because your average Republican, they're not going to be as pushy of their agenda on other people. They ran with that, live and let live, or let me believe what I want to believe. You can believe what you want to believe. While their opposition was working on taking over Hollywood, schools, every aspect of the American life. And so they're kind of used to that non-confrontational lifestyle. And this new Republican Party that we're seeing has a little bit of a bite. I would include DeSantis in that, of course, is actually getting stuff done, right? It's no longer the slower Democrat Party. It's becoming an actual Republican Party that does the bidding of actual conservatives. And that's what people fear so much in this country right now. They're trying to point out that it's some radical right wing, but the truth is it's pretty much just like mainstream conservatism.
It's literally a response. I mean, I'm glad you said that, James, because like conservatives, I've always said, the past hundreds of years, they've never conserved anything. They have the position that, okay, I'll leave you alone, you leave me alone, I'll believe what I want, you believe what you want. But then you have the other side literally jamming, critical race theory and all these which are actual radical ideologies down mainstream medias and others institutions' throats, making that the mainstream. And then now the right seems like the outcast. We're the ones labeled terrorists, even though the lefts are the ones that are burning down countries, resorting to violence. But then you go and look at FBI statistics, and every single terrorist attack that's ever been committed is by someone on the right wing, even though the right wing is essentially the left at this point. I mean, but the right, finally, the new right is what we're seeing. This is what has needed to happen for the past 100 years. The right should have been biting back and should have been doing. I mean, I've always said you have to play dirtier or as dirty as the left in order to win. And obviously you don't need to be as nasty as them, but you need to use their same tactics. It's just like Saul Alinsky. The left uses Saul Alinsky's rules for radicals. Hillary Clinton preaches it. All these people on the left preach it. And then the right, they're too scared to actually, buckle up and actually do anything about it. But now it's starting to slowly drift and change, but it might be too late.
I will add a little bit of context here as well, because we do get punished more than the left wing does. Right?
Absolutely.
You can be center right and you can look like the craziest radical. Look at Elon Musk. You can look like the craziest radical because you're just trying to push, free speech. Spooky.
Well, I mean, use J6 as an example compared to 2020.
Right.
Nothing happened.
But the reason for that is we do not own the media. We don't own the media in our country. So if we do something, it's the kid that's saying, stop hitting me, stop hitting yourself, stop hitting yourself, stop hitting yourself. You push them. And then the teacher, look at this. That's pretty much what it becomes. And then the media focuses on that. So one thing that we absolutely have to change is going to be media first before any big major change in our country. That's a tough uphill battle, in my opinion.
Yeah.
That's the UK's battle, and it has been for a really long time, too. I mean, we've seen that Tommy's been a big, one of the most censored and
but they're toxic. They've made me so toxic that people wouldn't even stand next to me.
Enemy of the state.
Tommy, you brought successfully. Oh, sorry. I was going to say, just really quick, you brought up an amazing example of that on your end. And I apologize, I'm a little bit ignorant as to your guys' politics over there, but I would assume it's the same just by what you said. You release a documentary, and what does it say? It doesn't say anything about the documentary. It says what happens to you in court, let's say.
They control it. They control. They don't care because they know more people listen to them, so they don't care. They don't care. When I went to jail for when I asked the outside court, I said, "How are you feeling about your verdict?" They totally changed what I said. And they did not care. 5 million people watched my video, so 5 million people know I didn't say it, but they don't care. because they pumped it to say I incited violence against the Muslims, which I didn't. It was never in the video.
Well, that's the thing is literally within one night of consistent broadcasting, all of these establishment or legacy news media sources can garner 10 times the views and 10 times the influence from the mindless NPCs. I mean, you can have a video that gets 100 million views and these people won't care. They will run with whatever they want because they know that. I mean, this is how you see like the correction in America, the correction of stories is they'll run a blatantly false propaganda story, slandering people that are big within the industry and absolutely destroying careers. And then they'll come back a week later and say, oh, correction, but nobody sees the correction.
Right. Right. And also not just that, but a lot of people look at the mainstream media as some sort of level of like this authoritative figure. So even if you don't pay attention, you still feel that social pressure within your society around you. Right. So you actually don't need to know that much. You're aware of that social pressure that comes with it.
Well, and you don't see alt news sources giving you notifications built into your phone. I mean, the notifications that are built into your phone or your laptop or on the TV every single day is from these legacy media sources. So, I mean, even if you are a follower of the truth, you're not getting notifications from these things. You're getting notifications from CNN. I mean, Apple is throwing CNN notifications on your phone. All of these legacy outlets. I mean, there's literally, you're so far past fighting this at this point, is you would have to do a complete revamp of the media industry. I mean, Elon's done a decent job at that, bringing independent journalism back on Twitter, and it's pissing them off, and that's why they're attacking him a lot.
He hasn't given me my account back yet.
He needs to do a better job.
You'll get it soon. You'll get it soon. You'll get it soon. I'm a big believer on that. I think over the next 30 days, they mentioned that they're rolling out.
That's what they said. That's what they said. Over the next 30 days, to make a decision.
See, we're still waiting for John Doyle to get back on the platform too, and amongst a bunch of other people that shouldn't have ever been.
Those are the two I advocate for: Tommy and Doyle. Tommy and Doyle.
Yep. Those are the two.
I am going to cause mayhem once I'm back on there.
Luke, go ahead. You had your hand up for a second.
Do you know what's happened?
No, I was saying fingers crossed.
Oh, okay.
Getting you back.
Look, we were winning here. Now it's fashionable to convert to Islam. Andrew Tate, impressionable young kids that converted to Islam. It's become the common thing. The truth about Islam is no longer out there. When we had social media, I think we were winning the narrative. But
Tommy,
now,
you don't understand what's happening here in the jail. So in Philadelphia, and like in the jail system here, it is being Christian is associated with being white. And so in the jails, they are reforming these regular African-American people to become Muslim because it's anti-white. And so now you can see people that have been in prison, they have like marks on their forehead, and they're trying to see in jail who can be more loyal. Whoever has like screws on their head is the most.
Islam is a gang that is anti-system. It's anti-system, and it's becoming. A lot of people are looking for it. You know, Muhammad. So Muhammad went out to get all the people who were the outcasts of society. So that's who he built his army from. The people who were run out, the thieves, the criminals. So when you're in jail, you've been. I saw it. Everyone's converting in jail. Everyone. All the white boys are converting. All the black boys are converting. It's a gang. But when you've been wronged your whole life, when you had no chance in your life, when you've had no good upbringing, and then they give you something to rebel against it, which is Islam. Which is why when Andrew Tate converted, I could see it coming. What is the one thing? The West has become so degenerate. What is the alternative that we're giving? What's the alternative? LGBTQ+. What is the alternative? Whereas Islam is standing strong. So it's a dangerous situation because when he converted, lots of children are converting. Lots of people are converting because they see no other option. Islam will not budge.
Well, that's the thing is Christianity is so accepting, even though it's never once said to be tolerant in the Bible. But that's what it's been marketed to us as mainstream Christians, especially on the right, and even in the MAGA movement. I mean, they accept, all of the homosexuals and all the trans people. You have drag queens that have MAGA accounts and are praised by our side at this point. But then meanwhile, in Islam, none of this is seeping through. You have these Islamic communities in America that are pushing back on CRT, that are getting these things banned from these school boards. And then meanwhile, you have all these Christians, and they're just allowing it to happen. And if they want to push back, it's too late to push back because Christianity is seen as a bad thing at this point.
I find myself with the Muslims, and that's me, and I'm against Islam. But I find
that's a funny right-wing trope, right? Like they have they put these little polls up. Would you rather your daughter be OnlyFans or in a hijab, right? And all of us conservative people are like, we don't want our own OnlyFans. We'd rather have her in a
hijab.
Hands down. Like, it's true.
Inshallah.
Message me. Andrew Tate messaged me saying, would you rather your son come home a tranny or a Muslim?
Right. And at that point,
I said, neither.
Yeah. But you can't, right? But so at that point, you know, if they're the only people that are sticking to ideals that people see, and these young men are need something to belong to, and they see the degeneracy and they want a way out, they have a sense of belonging. They have something to look forward to work towards, right? Christianity is not offering that. We're saying, hey, here, welcome with open arms.
It's a big umbrella.
We love you. Like that, people need structure. And part of why the West is falling apart is because we lost that structure. We lost it.
We need a new awakening, a reawakening of religion in the country, which I think you're starting to see slowly, but it's super slow. And it's I don't think it's going to come fast enough at this point.
Again, I'll look at Russia. Russia's not tolerating any of it. Russia's still standing strong on its principles, on its religious principles, it's still standing against it. So
you're gonna have labeled like a Russian spy again or something.
John. I know.
It's all right. I already go on RT programs, so I'm already considered a Putin stooge.
I know.
Poor James is not. Leave him out of that.
What I said about Putin, I went to Russia, and Zelensky now is talking about. He's not talking about getting the Russians out of Ukraine. He's talking about regime change. Now, what does regime change look like in Russia with 230 different ethnicities? With what's the Muslim area there?
With Chechnya,
with Chechnya, they're under control. What does it look like when Putin goes? What did it look like when Gaddafi went? What did it look like when Saddam Hussein went? Yeah,
it just sounds like another genocide to me.
It's a genocide.
Well, and that's the thing is, who do you think Zelensky is getting these ideas from? You have our American congressmen like Lindsey Graham and people on the left side of the aisle as well, the Uniparty coming out and saying the only way this war ends is with a regime change. I mean, they've straight up said we need to kill Putin. I mean, these are our American congressmen, and then they stand back and they say, no, we're not involved in this war. It hasn't gone kinetic yet. And then we're funding it, sending Nazis money, and the CIA is over there running programs and training people, running psyops on people, but we're not involved as America. We need to stay out of it. But we've been involved. We essentially started the war at this point. I mean, Ukraine is a proxy state to launder money and to fight America's wars. I mean, I understand that, America wants to keep Russia weak. I mean, Russia has always been, this big bear, or the boogeyman is what I call it. America always needs a boogeyman when we're not at war. I mean, but it's getting very, very obvious on what is going on in these countries. But people just don't care.
Do the American public support the war? That's what I wonder. Do the British public don't? If you could put it to a vote, 50%. Do the British public want to fund Ukraine? No, we don't.
I would say the NPCs, all the NPCs, and some people that really aren't into like current politics or anything like that, they just say, yeah, it's a good thing to support Ukraine because they're being victimized by Russia. Which
you go 2 blocks that way, and there's Ukraine flags hanging from people's houses.
There's Ukraine flags hanging above American flags at car dealerships all around the country.
But they done that because they done that in England. So then when your gas prices go up, when everything goes up, you can't really argue because you're on Ukraine's side. So they got the whole British public supporting Ukraine from all the councils and all the flags. And it's not benefiting us.
I mean, you have Kevin McCarthy and others wearing literally Ukraine lapels and handkerchiefs, not even wearing an American flag on their uniforms anymore. And we're holding up, an American flag that's the colors of Ukraine, signed by Zelensky and signed by these people as if they're celebrities or something in the Congress Hall. So, I mean, we're past that point here, too.
Yeah, sorry, Tommy. I'm black pilled. I mean, I know other people aren't as bad as I am, but I'm like super black pilled. I think like it's over. We're done. Everything sucks. There's no coming back from it. I'm miserable about it. It's fine.
At this point, I'm getting close to turning into an accelerationist and just saying elect Biden again. Let's get this thing over with. Let's become a one world order at this point.
Let him destroy the world.
Well, that's exactly what he's going to do. That's what he's been doing.
But I think there's honor in slowing down the process.
I do agree. Absolutely.
They want to destroy the economy. They want to destroy it. They want everyone to get so desperate that they're crying out for the basic wage. They want that. Yeah,
I'm ready for the EMPs to start hitting. That's what I'm ready for because that's where it's going to go at this point. Is give it 2030 if somebody isn't in office to slow it down, like James said, which there absolutely is honor. And if we can get Trump in or someone in to slow the agenda down, but I don't think there's any ultimately stopping the agenda. This agenda has been alive for hundreds of years, and people don't understand that. I mean, this is the one world order that's, alive and well, seeping into every single country around the world right now, and has basically dominated every single country. And America is the one spreading it at this point.
That's why Trump's speech at Davos was so important.
Yep.
That's why, yeah. I don't know. You've depressed me now. That's what are we going to do?
Non-comply.
No,
use your voice on Twitter once you get your account back, and that's what we'll do. Twitter's the new fighting grounds.
That's all I'm waiting for. Man. By the end of January, I'll have my account back, hopefully.
We need.
I think a lot of these voices are blowing up on social media, such as Taylor right here. I mean, you've had a lot of success in your reporting, and that's been done not by some mainstream media, cable news outlet, but by social media, and that's where a lot of freedom-loving Americans are thriving. I mean, we dominate social media, and these social media companies know it.
Right? Oh, and that's the thing. Once the shadow bans and everything are dropped, it's over. That's the thing.
Yeah, it's over.
The right has the general ideas that are popular, but they've just been suppressed. Like, my reporting, ever since Elon took over, I think I've gained like 40,000 plus followers at this point. I mean, it's insane how much my account has exploded since. And then still on, Instagram and the other tech platforms, I'm being censored to high heavens. I mean, but on Twitter, that's really where the battleground is. And that's the thing, is that's the community square, as Elon will put it. And that's why you see that they're, the DHS and others are trying to literally investigate and sabotage Elon right now. And I don't think Elon's all good. I don't like his Neuralink stuff. I don't like certain things about him. But what he's doing to restore free speech or semi-free speech, because we know we won't have Alex Jones back on. I mean, that he has done single-handedly more for the right and for actually saving the country than Republicans, I would say, ever have at this point.
Yeah, and Taylor, that's a huge point right there. That the stepping stone. A lot of we're so, I don't know why the right's so bad at this, but that's that inch by inch by inch get there slowly. That's what the left has done for how long?
Well, it's because the right is used to playing defensive.
Yeah, right. And so it's okay not to have it all right now. Alex Jones back right now. That is okay, because we're still getting inch by inch, and we're still winning on that platform. And also, to piggyback on what you said about watching everybody, as soon as those shadow bans were lifted on Twitter, you would see everybody's all of a sudden growing. Oh, what a big coincidence.
Weird.
Everyone's account is blowing up, and they're doing the same thing on YouTube, Facebook, all these other social media platforms. They're trying to suppress their opposition.
Well, and you've seen just in a few months of Elon taking over how discredited mainstream media has become at this point. Their viewership is dropping in record numbers, just like it did when Trump was in office. And this is all because one man decided to buy a platform and decide to switch things up. I mean, so you got to give him kudos where it's earned. I mean, but Twitter's the fighting spot. If you want to fight back at all, it's going to be on Twitter. There's no other platform to do it on right now.
We need you on there, Tom.
Yeah, I just need to get back on there. I deleted my life. I can't wait. Do you know what it is? Even Nick Lowell yesterday, Hope Not Hate, they just lie. So when people are lying about you, you can't even counter it. So all these different accounts and all these different journalists just put out stories as facts. You don't even have an opportunity to counter it. It's so frustrating.
Speaking of Nick Lowell, I feel like there was a book released. Did you get it? Did you read it? I don't want to pay for it. I don't want to support him.
Lisa, he sold about 10 books. I don't want
to buy one, but I you know what I mean? Like, I want to read it to see what was said.
It is pathetic.
Don't do it.
Just go to a Barnes and Noble and steal it.
Yeah, it's pathetic. Yeah. It's absolutely pathetic. Someone in the pub said this. That was his evidence. That was his evidence. And everyone, every single, he's on the Andrew Tate one. So we've done a documentary. It only had 50,000 views because we're blacklisted. But we exposed, they are an NGO, the same in America. These groups, they would have contacted, you see Andrew Tate, they'll contact every single girl that he's had an interaction with, and they'll pay them. We got them paying £20,000. 20 different people were paid to lie. And then when they give their story, it's pumped around the world. It's pumped around the world. But they work with all of our governments, all of our media. They are literally, we don't need the government to suppress free speech. because we have these NGOs like Hope Not Hate, and they're and when I confronted him, he didn't care. He was so cocksure. He said, "Yeah." I said, "You create the stories?" "Yeah, yeah, I do," because they're so confident. They're so confident because they work with everyone.
Well, maybe slightly off topic, but have you been on with Tate yet, Tommy?
No, because I was due to do a podcast and now he's in jail. Do you know what?
When you do, tell him he's a fake Muslim.
I'm sorry, I wasn't expecting that.
Luke,
when you do,
what do you think
chat with Tate, tell him he's a fake Muslim.
Mate, what do you think I'm going to do with Islam with Tate?
I've heard a guy, a friend of mine referred me to this guy on Twitter who apparently has some dirt on Tate, and he claims that Tate was offered a lot of money by a Muslim Arab oligarch.
Mate, he spent 4 days with the Dubai prince. Now you see those princes; they spend hundreds and hundreds of millions to push Islam. Yeah. Getting Andrew Tate to convert to Islam is big money. Big money. Yeah.
So I don't believe a word Tate says. I take a lot of what he says with a pinch of salt, but on his Muslim conversion, no, I don't believe a word. He's a fake Muslim.
Yeah, so I know Tate. I've known him for years. Yeah. So I say to my son says he's a billionaire. I said, no, he's not. Yeah. You have to take everything he says with a pinch of salt. Yeah. Now, what he was doing, he was selling courses to men on how to pull women. Yeah. So even when he's talking about bigging himself up, it's not true. I'm looking there watching it, thinking he's selling himself. Yeah,
but the persona.
He's selling himself, and it hasn't helped him with some of the things he said.
Well, he's selling a product, and the product happens to be himself.
It's a Ponzi scheme. He's successful at it, but people who take literally what he's saying, it's like, and I know him. He's a nice guy. He's a nice guy. I know him, but he cares about him. Yeah. So, I personally think he's not coming out of jail. He got that influential. All the children will listen to him. He's done. He ain't coming out.
Yeah.
He ain't coming out.
He's over there not coming out. Now, here's the thing. I don't know. I mean, there may be some smoke to what happened, but I don't think it's as egregious as what they're saying. But how influential he became. They will keep him in there as long as they can. I mean,
well, and the thing is, you know that it isn't just the Romanian government that decided to do this all of a sudden. I mean, another government with more power like America intervened because he was getting away with all this stuff. I mean, for years prior, he was on video bragging about, I can pay the Romanian police off. Romania is a insanely corrupt country. No, I know, but that's what he was saying. And that's the thing is he got away with all of the things he was doing with no problem, no hassle from the police for years. And then all of a sudden he blows up, becomes one of the most influential people in the world. And the U.S. obviously doesn't like him. Mainstream media is running hit articles on him. And then all of a sudden he gets arrested. I mean, the U.S. is clearly involved.
But coordinated. Where they've done the organised crime group, that's so they can take everything. They're taking everything. They're going to take all his money. They're going to seize everything.
I mean, you saw that they seized his Bugatti. They seized his money already. They seized his assets. I mean, and even if he does get out, he's not going to get any of that stuff back. I mean, I don't think Tate will get out, but I think maybe his brother Tristan might get out because his brother Tristan isn't nearly as big of a problem. The only reason Tristan is really relevant is because of the podcast that he did with Andrew. I mean, he's just seen in the pastime with Andrew.
Talk about it. If he can talk about it, and
they cannot allow someone to be that influential with that much money and that influential on the youth. They can't allow it. All the children are talking about him. They cannot allow it. They can't allow it. So I don't think he's getting out, and I don't believe a word of it. If I'm honest, I don't believe a word of it. You know, the two girls, Vice Media just done a big hit piece on him, saying that there was a rape claim in 2015. What they don't say is that those two girls had their phones taken. And they were conspiring together to set him up and extort him. So the media run this big story about him again, like Lauren Southern. So Kayla is Hope Not Hate again. Lauren Southern was raped in 2018, apparently, by Andrew Tate. I was there, right? They stayed in the hotel room next door. She banged him. They were kissing. They were kissing on the door the next morning. Yeah, they were kissing. I got in the car with her. Everything is like, and it will benefit. The sad thing is, it will totally benefit Lauren Southern to say she did. She will explode onto the world scene. She hasn't done yet, but Kaylin has. Kaylin says she was raped. I was there. So when I see that,
Kaylin and Drew lie. I mean, like they just lie.
When I see that, if that's a lie, yeah. When I see that, if that's a lie, then what else is a lie? Yeah.
Right.
What else is a lie? So you can't take one thing. And I know. So Kalen comes out and he said, and the first person to message after Kalen does, Hope Not Hate. Hope Not Hate contacted me 6 months ago with the allegation that Andrew Tate raped Lauren Southern. 6 months ago. They've been planning this for years. They've been planning it for years. So yeah. And you know what? Like, so Andrew Tate, I like him. I've known him. I am appalled by the fact he converted to Islam. I am absolutely furious that he has told the youth to convert to Islam, which I'd have that out with him on the podcast, yeah. But
you've had this conversation with him privately, I assume. I mean, it's not like you to hold back.
I've had it with him every day. Do you know what he said? Do you want me to show you what he said? He said, he said, Tommy, convert to Islam, admit Christians are selling themselves, get 4 wives, drive a Lamborghini. that's what he said. And he said, inshallah at the end. But I don't think he believes. I don't think. Do you know what? I think he's trying to survive. That's what I think. But by trying to survive, he's done a disservice, total disservice, which I'll have out with him, hopefully, if he gets out of jail on the podcast. But I don't think he's getting out of jail. I don't think he's getting out.
That's really
anyway.
That's scary and disappointing, but that's more towards my black pill. So everybody just keep on with me. So
no black pill.
He should have gone to Russia.
If you're going to take the black pill, you need like the half black, half white pill. So you need a little bit of both. You can be black pill, but you got to have a little bit of hope mixed in with the black pill.
Basically, James is the only person that like gives me hope. I told Tommy.
I mean, I would consider myself double pilled. You know, I take both every single day. I take the black pill and then I take the white pill and flush it down with some good, you know, sulfuric acid or whatever nowadays. You taste the black pill
in the morning. Yep. Yeah, it goes in the morning, and then throughout the day, you might take a couple white pills here and there.
Absolutely,
it might be a smaller pill.
And then maybe, you know, depending on what you're scrolling and what you're seeing or what happens, you might take a few other black pills. But it just depends on the day. But I find myself having a good ratio of, you know, 2 to 1 more white pills than black pills.
Right.
No,
well, yeah.
Sorry, Tommy.
Right,
no
Lisa.
hope from America over here.
I just want to come to America. Do you know what?
Wow.
When Donald Trump was in power, I looked at getting into America and I'd be detained. I'm actually under Joe Biden. I'll just walk in.
Mm-hmm. You can walk in. Just walk in with no ID, and they'll give you a phone.
That's why they arrested me in Mexico.
We had
you cross the border. You get a free flight wherever you want.
Yep, exactly.
That's why I went to America. I went to Mexico with my children for a holiday, and they arrested me and detained me and deported me because they must have been worried that I was going to cross the border.
See, at this point, though, I would consider actually moving to Mexico, like a nice place like Medina or something in Mexico where it's nice and peaceful. I mean, just cross the border. Cross the border. They won't even know.
Tommy, FBI taps my phone. We were having a conversation joking about that. And it was like, a couple weeks later, when you went there, you got detained. I swear to God, that's what happened.
I went to Mexico, and I always enjoy getting out of the country. So as soon as we landed, I was with the children. We're going for 2 weeks. I said, yes. And we've gone walking through, and there was like Stephen Lennon. I was like, oh, mate. And they just took me away. 2 days in an immigration centre. They deported me for a threat to national security. 16 people were murdered at the local football match that weekend. It's like, I'm a threat to national security. But I knew that it come from Mexico City, and I know why it is, because they were worried about me going to America.
Mm-hmm. Well, they said something like that while you were detained. Oh, it has to do with something with America.
Yeah, the British,
yeah. Yeah, well, if I could get you here, I would. I got this close. We got this close in 2000.
I've already looked at it. I'm coming.
All right,
I'm going to those big boxes and drill some holes in it so Tommy could breathe.
£7,000. I've been looking at it. It's easy. It's easy to get into America.
Not if you're pure blood.
I will not tell you to cross.
I'll probably get arrested and detained. No one else does.
Right.
We'll turn you up a little bit and have you walk across the southern border. You'll be good. They won't even know.
Well, I just wanted it. It's January 6th, and there's currently men in jail. Do you know they get forgotten? Like and everyone has a role to play. So what's happening now, and those men who are sitting in jail without even realizing it, they're playing their role. So,
well, and see, Ashley Babbitt's mother literally has been. She had a dream that came to her, and I'm very close with the Babbitt family, with Aaron, Kayla, Mickey, all of them. And she had a dream, almost a year after Ashley was shot and killed. And Ashley basically came to her and said, there's nothing you can do for me now, but you need to help these prisoners. Like, that's what you need to do with your life. And ever since, she has literally been in D.C., outside the prison, outside the jail, every single day rallying people, even though she has stalkers in D.C. that come up to her. They assault her. The cops want her dead. They literally give her threats. You saw today, they literally arrested her. So now she's sitting in a jail cell for Lord knows how long. She's probably being abused by these police because these police do not care.
Are there fundraisers for any of the prisoners?
Yeah, there are individual fundraisers. But a lot of these people raising money are scams. A lot of them aren't even going to the real prisoners. And that's the tragedy with the J6 stuff, is you've had bad actors infiltrate early on, not just through the fundraisers, but through legal teams. Like the Babbitt's original legal team literally was assigned by the establishment, basically. You have these public defenders having these people that did nothing wrong plead guilty to these charges so they get jail time. Yeah, and it's not in their best interest at all, but the establishment has their fingers wrapped around these people that were involved so well. Even the victims of the day, the families, they've all been silenced. Literally, Brian Sicknick's wife reached out to, after I published my story talking about how he actually died and how the Capitol Police covered it up, she reached out to a lawyer that represents these J6 detainees that she knows, and she called him literally bawling, saying, why would he publish this? Why would he do that? And he's like, have you read it? She's, no, I won't read it. And it's like, okay, well, then you need to read it to understand what's going on. But the establishment has come. They buried Sicknick in Arlington. They called him a hero. They said he died on duty, so she gets benefits now. This is the way that they do it. They go and they appease these families, and they say, okay, these guys are terrorists. These are the people you need to speak out against. They literally manipulated Officer Brian Sicknick's mother, and Sicknick was a Trump supporter, registered Trump supporter. People don't know this, but they manipulated his mother to go and do an attack ad against Kari Lake when she was running, saying, people like Kari Lake are the reason that my son died. It was the most disgusting show of force I've ever seen from the establishment, but this is something they do every single day regarding these victims of the day.
Taylor, this is the first time I've heard you, and I've enjoyed it, brother. So
appreciate you, brother.
I wouldn't steer you wrong, but we'll get you that info. That's how I'll get anything you want. That you just let me know what you want, and I'll get you whoever you need.
Cool. It's been enjoyable, people. So,
well, hopefully we won't have to see you here for next January 6th because they'll be free. So that'll be the goal there.
Yeah, best of luck to all the imprisoned and charged folks.
Yeah, same, man. Same. Good luck, lads.
Thanks for having us, Tommy.
Yep. Thanks for having us,
Thanks, Tommy.
Bye, Luke. Nice meeting you.
See you soon, people. See you soon.
Bye, guys. Nem, are we done? Hey, Luke. It was good to meet you.
Just you and me.
I was trying to pull you in there a couple times. Taylor's very chatty, and I'm pretty chatty. And then Tommy, he just talks forever. So I was like trying to bring you in once in a while.